Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here today with episode 2423 of the Cabral Concept. This is our first house call of the weekend. If you are new to the show, on Saturdays and Sundays every single week, for over 6 years now, we've been answering our community's questions. We answer about a dozen questions total for the weekend. And it's an amazing, I think, opportunity for me to be able to really connect with our community and really see what's going on with people so that I can get a better connection to what you want to hear more of. And a lot of times I end up expanding it into a full podcast as well in the next coming weeks. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for your support. Truly appreciate it. If you left a review of the Cabral Concept, it means the world to me. Really appreciate it. It allows us to reach more and more people all around the world. If you haven't left a review and you'd like to leave one, well, that would be fantastic as well on your favorite media-based player. All right, let's get into our questions from the week. I'm opening up the Word document now. As I always say, there is no prep at all for the show. And I just open up the document, I start reading your questions, and I give you my answer based on many years and many hundreds of thousands of appointments. All right, so Anonymous is up first, and they say, Dr. Cabral, I searched your podcast and only found a couple of short snippets on the topic of scleroderma. I'm waiting to visit with a rheumatologist, but in the meantime, would like your perspective. I have Reynauds symptoms for 10 years, 8 years chronic constipation and bloating, several areas of scar tissue seen with CT scans, but scleroderma was not brought to my attention until recently. I had a OT connect the dots, learning about Reynauds. Obviously, this would be the type of scleroderma that impacts the internal organs, not the skin. Lost my grandmother to scleroderma at a very early age, so it's present in my family and the gene associated with the disease. I have done your CBO protocol after completing the stool and heavy metal with not a lot of success. I'm assuming for maybe digestive issues. Without giving me medical advice, can you give me some advice? If a scleroderma diagnosis is positive, how would you recommend approaching it without Big Pharma in my pocket and bloodstream? Thank you so much for your thoughts. Okay, so, the CBO protocol is for digestive issues. So what I would say is if you have candida overgrowth or you have bacterial overgrowth or you might have H. pylori, then you complete that. So I think you were right in hopefully you lab tested. If you haven't lab tested, anybody with a real serious dis-ease of the body, I can't recommend enough running the Big Five. And if you think you have, digestive issues, run the bacterium parasite stool test, if possible. Again, I'm just saying if possible. If not, then maybe run the starter kit. So that's that, because you need to figure out what's the underlying root cause here, right? And if you did the heavy metal test, I just don't understand how you cannot have success with the test. I'm assuming you ran the test and maybe it didn't show you heavy metals. Again, I don't know specifically, but let me give you some advice to at least get you started. So when you're looking at any type of, especially Reynauds, and most likely this is at least a big part of it, Reynauds is almost always stress-induced combined with lower levels of thyroid or an inflammatory issue that is not allowing that free flow of blood and circulation as well. Almost always, I see a 4 high or at least high calcium magnesium on the minerals and metals test, or I see elevated levels of cortisol, especially in the evening, which is then not allowing for a calming of the parasympathetic nervous system. That's what we want, right? We want to reduce the sympathetic nervous system and then allow for more of that healing rest and digest for the parasympathetic. In addition to that, I would probably be doing things like sauna or infrared sauna multiple times per week, going for walks, listening to binaural beats, probably doing red light therapy to help everything at the skin and below the skin, and to calm that sympathetic nervous system. Like that's my highest recommendation. Then you're looking for heavy metals. You're looking for the 4 causes of gut-based issues. You're looking at food sensitivities, and you're reducing stress in your life. So you're really looking at the rain barrel effect, right? The de-stress protocol that I talk about in the rain barrel effect. If you have not read that book, I really implore you to read the book. I literally print it for free now. It cost me about $7 to print that book. All I ask is that you pay for the shipping, which is about $7 or $8. I literally print the book. And you can always buy it on Amazon. You're welcome to do that as well. But I just want to make sure that people are reading that book, especially with real health-based issues. All right. So Anonymous, hopefully that is helpful. All right, Anonymous is up next, another Anonymous. Hi, Dr. Brawl. Please know that your whole community of faithful listeners is beyond grateful for what you and your team do every single day. Thank you, Anonymous. I appreciate that. It is why we do what we do is just because we're dedicated to people's health. And most likely because most of us have gone through really difficult health challenges ourselves. And now we just couldn't think about doing anything else. Like literally since the time I was 22, graduated from undergrad, I haven't thought about doing anything else. That this has been my life, and I'm very happy that I made that decision. Okay, Anonymous says, my question is for my daughter and breastfeeding. She has infant and is planning to nurse for 12 months if possible. Realizing you cannot provide medical advice, etc. I'm curious about what you and your wife chose to do when it was time to wean your 2 daughters. She follows your protocols, including your prenatal protocol, and is gluten and dairy free. She doesn't want to introduce cow's milk dairy as is traditionally recommended by pediatricians. Did you transition your daughters to goat's milk or another alternative like almond milk after nursing? Thanks for all you do. Okay, so my wife chose to nurse for quite a long time with my first and second daughter. And that was her choice, and every woman has to make their own choice as well. But oftentimes it's advised, if you can and you're able to, that you nurse your child for 1 to 2 years, some maybe even longer. And that does not mean, though, that they cannot start to wean onto regular food after 6 months or whatever you feel is also appropriate. And by that, it means the food would be, in the beginning, supplementing breast milk. But then later, breast milk would be supplementing food. It wouldn't be as much, right? So your body's producing the amount that your child is nursing. And so, no, my children never did milk. That again, that's not necessarily the decision for everyone, but I never gave them cow's milk. It was never a desire of my wife or I. We would do some goats-based or sheep-based cheese if they desired, but it just wasn't a big part of it. They got their calcium and all those things from other nutrients. They had some almond milk, but no, not really a lot. Like that just wasn't what we were doing. And simply put, when they started to wean towards regular food, we just gave them more of a balanced-based diet. Some pureed root vegetables. They could eat certain types of meat or fish, vegetables that they liked, avocados. And we allowed them we put foods there, and they kind of chose for themselves which food they were eating. So hopefully that was helpful. I think that it's very important that everyone do what they feel is right for their baby and their child, and especially as they're weaning. So hopefully, I think that was the answer. So hopefully that helped. All right. Sean is up next. And it says, I listened to your intermittent fasting podcast, and I'm really interested in the flex meal once a week with 24-hour fasting, 1 to 2 times a week with 2 to 4 cups of greens, salads a day. Any written plans on where I can glance at instead of trying to figure out what to eat daily and my calories, my macros? I like to get my meals set for the week since I have kids and I'm a firefighter, not a lot of time in the morning to create my meals. Yeah, happy to help. So, for me, I do like a Thursday night and a Saturday night flex meal. That means I get to eat whatever I want at that meal. Sometimes it's only once a week, and sometimes it's a Friday night instead of a Saturday night, but I never do 2 nights in a row, ever. I let my body calm down that inflammation. So let's say I go out Friday night with my family. I might have a normal dinner. Like it's not abnormal for me to have some protein, some veggies, and eat clean at dinner. But then I decide to have dessert. And I might decide to have a drink. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not like I'm just saying like, oh, I can only have this. I can have whatever I want at that meal. But that doesn't mean that I need to have all sorts of bread and other things, like I might. Sometimes I have bread and pasta and I enjoy that. So, that's my flex meal. I have whatever I want at that meal and whatever I desire. I don't just force myself to eat something though, just because it's my flex meal. And then every Monday, I do my 1-day reset diet. So I think that's what you are referring to, and it's super easy to do. I've been doing it forever now. By forever, I mean, like maybe, I don't know, maybe 7 years or something like that. And the functional medicine detox I've been doing about 10 years. And then I was just like, hey, why not do 1 day a week where we're kind of adding this in? So let me just I have so many shows on it, but why don't I get it for you? Because it will also be 1 to 2 days a week, and you can have some of those shakes or greens that you're talking about. So I just did the show. It's called it was episode 2413. Is this the easiest fasting method to stick with? Research says yes. So that was 2413, StephenCabral.com/2413. But on that podcast page, I also linked specifically to my 1-day reset diet, and it's a PDF. And it's super simple to follow. So it's what I do. If you want to know what I do on Mondays, it's literally 1 scoop for the shake in the AM, 20 ounces of water. So I'm hydrating. Same at lunch, 20 ounces of water. Same mid-afternoon, 20 ounces of water. I'm just getting micronutrients. That's it. Micronutrients, hardly any actual calories. And then I have a normal dinner. And that's part of that. Yeah, I mean, it works exceptionally well. I have thousands of people that I know that are using that inside my practice, but I will let you decide. As always, the choice is yours. All right, Ashley's up next. Hey, I love listening to your podcast. You mentioned in this episode that you recommend a certain colon cleanse and that it was not your brand. I don't see it anywhere in your show notes. Could you tell me the brand? Okay, I don't know what podcast you're referring to, but you wrote in on 6/22. Let's see if I can scroll back, because I keep copious notes on all my podcasts. And it was on 7 signs of a slow metabolism and how to boost it. Okay, well, maybe that was it. But if not, I can tell you either way. So if you go to StephenCabral.com, should be StephenCabral.com/intestinal-cleanse. So intestinal cleanse. Let's see if that works. Lo and behold, it does. StephenCabral.com/intestinal-cleanse. And yes, we are using another company's binder right now, but I don't know. It probably won't happen until November of this year, maybe December. We're coming out with a brand new binder, one that is lower on the histamine levels and encapsulated for people who don't like the taste. So, but either way, go for it. StephenCabral.com/intestinal-cleanse. Thousands of people use that every single month as part of either the CBO protocol, just to get their bowels moving, to bind up toxins in the intestines. It's only 5 days. They use a mold protocol, detox, so many others. And it can be done, it can be used concurrently, so at the same time as any other of the Equilife-based protocols. All right, so that's approved for that. All right, there you have it. Let's see. How many more questions do we have today? I always like to answer 6. So that was our 4th. All right, Nikki's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I have a question about something rarely talked about. Can you talk about group A strep? I recently had a severe kind of vaginosis that was so itchy and painful I could hardly walk or sleep. I tried boric acid with no help. It lasted for 2 weeks before I finally went to the doctors. They ran every test you could and all came up negative except for group A strep. The doctor said it's very unusual to see adults, but nonetheless said I needed antibiotics. I was so desperate, I had to. Things were progressively getting worse and developing sores down there. Simultaneously, I ended up with a major hemorrhoid, sore throat, headache, and huge sore on my mouth that won't get better even with tea tree oil. Anyways, my 4-year-old daughter caught it from me and I think somehow is now suffering from similar issues down there without the pain. Again, I think I need to do antibiotics as I cannot figure out how to recover from this on my own, as it's not typical vaginitis. Can you talk a little bit about what this is? How could me and my daughter have gotten it? If it is possible to get rid of without antibiotics, and if I should have my husband tested as a carrier. I'm wondering if I picked it up from him. Anyways, thanks for all you do. God bless. Okay, thank you, Nikki. Appreciate the question. Totally understand. I'm talking about group B streptococci, group B strep, with women, especially with, delivery or, when they're going to give birth. That's the word I was looking for. So what I've always done in my practice, again, I can't provide any medical advice, for any of these questions, medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis. We've always used a vaginal suppository of a garlic, piece of garlic. So basically you peel the garlic, not to the green, but just the regular garlic, insert it. You can do it overnight. You can do it during the day. And that's been shown to very effectively kill bacteria. Yes, we have used boric acid-based capsules before. It didn't seem to work for you. Maybe it wasn't strong enough. Maybe it was. And then we always repopulate, though, right away with lactobacilli. So we use we just use a capsule of Lactobacillus acidophilus. That's it. You can find these at stephencabral.com/shop. Not the garlic, not the boric acid, but the lactobacillus you can. And you use that as a vaginal suppository as well. But it seems like the way that you may have gotten this is that your immune system may not be where it should be because you have quite a bit of inflammation. You've got hemorrhoids, you have sore throat, you've got a headache, and you have sores inside your mouth. So I don't know if these are just ulcer-based sores from a viral infection, but you have some type of, again, not giving you any medical diagnosis, potentially imbalance of the immune system. And so I definitely would like to work on that so that if your body's exposed to this, that it would be able to fight it off, especially with some of these more natural-based modalities. So you can certainly have your husband tested. You just want to make sure that everybody is clear from the group A strep. If you use antibiotics, remember, I always recommend using the clean gut probiotic and the healthy gut support for at least 4 weeks, right when you end that antibiotic or even concurrently while you're using the antibiotic. So that is that. And then absolutely run I'd run a bacteria and parasite stool test. You just need to know if you have any levels of bacterial overgrowth in your gut, like why are things not staying balanced? So that's what I would do. All right, Nikki, hopefully that helps. Alicia is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I want to ask you, how did you fix your type 2 diabetes? My blood work showed hemoglobin A1C at 5.9, which is a little too high. I recently bought a glucometer, and my fasting glucose is around 105. For the last few days since I started measuring, my glucose level doesn't want to go lower than 105, even when I'm before bed or before a meal. I want to reverse it. Would love to hear how you fixed your sugar imbalances. By the way, I'm underweight. My BMI is below 16 with hypothyroidism and gut issues that I'm currently addressing. Also, I would like to get a CGM and was wondering if this device would survive hot yoga. At 105 degrees, lots of sweat. Thank you so much for your answers and your wonderful work. Big fan, Alicia. Yeah, happy to help. Thank you for the kind words. I do believe the CGM would survive these hot yoga classes. I use mine in a sauna, 150, 60 degrees. But they give you, some of these companies use like it's almost like a Band-Aid. It's a bandage that goes over it. So, and it's very, very sticky. It's meant to not come off for a week or two, even in the shower. So yeah, that'll be no problem. You can find the CGM that I recommend at stephencabral.com/podcast. Just type in continuous glucose monitor, or you can find it at stephencabral.com/resources. Okay, how did I fix my type 2 diabetes? The way that I fixed mine, again, I can't give you any medical cures, right? How did I fix mine? I addressed the thing that was causing the blood sugar imbalances, which was my adrenal issues. Okay, so I would end up with low lows in blood sugar, and then massive spikes of cortisol. And that would then what? Raise blood sugar levels very, very high. And then what would happen? Well, couldn't respond properly and would drop my blood sugar levels massively, causing hypoglycemia. Then what would it do? Well, it would cause more norepinephrine. It would cause more cortisol output. So I believe that my answer for you, or my answer for me, may contain an answer for you as well. And that's looking at, why do you have hypothyroidism? Why is your BMI well below a 19 or 20? Right? So that's what I'm looking at. You're underweight. You have low thyroid. You shouldn't have high glucose. It's typically reserved. Again, I wasn't overweight either, but typically reserved if someone's overweight. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at stress factors for you. I'm looking at addressing your HPA axis, that's your adrenals, to help your thyroid, to help you in being less of a catabolic state, and to better balance your blood sugar. That's going to take the whole de-stress protocol. Diet, stabilizing glucose, okay? Exercise, not too hard, okay? It's going to take stress reduction for sure. Toxin removal, especially heavy metals. Better sleep, no doubt about it. We need to improve your sleep. I want you at an hour and a half of deep sleep and 2+ hours of REM sleep. And we're working on emotional balance. We're working on the nutritional supplements that your body needs, maybe daily glucose support for now, maybe daily, or maybe adrenal soothe for now, maybe daily thyroid support from now. Honestly, whenever possible, run the Big Five. That's the bottom line. Whenever possible, run the Big Five. For you, if you can't run that, if you could only run one lab, I would run the stress, mood, and metabolism lab to find out the plan to help you recover and rebalance your underlying root cause imbalances. All right, everybody. Hopefully this was helpful. I will be back tomorrow answering 6 more of our community's questions. Hope you have an amazing weekend. Talk with you soon. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Steven Cabral. And that's Steven with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.